Hello, everyone, and thank you for deciding to join us here today on the BA Excellence Conference of 2022 with our next topic and our next speaker. My name is Jan Mazurek, and I will have the pleasure and the privilege to being your host throughout the next topic, which is actually very exciting for me as it relates to the area that I get asked very often during the BA mentoring program, where I participate as a mentor. You probably are aware of the fact that in an ideal Scrum world, there are only the three roles in the team. There's the Scrum Master, there's the development team, and there's the product owner. And if you would like to know how does the BA fit into that mix and how to combine the responsibilities of the Business Analyst and the Scrum Master, our next speaker will explain that to you. Kuralay, it is so great to have you here with us today, and thank you so much for being the part of this event. To all of you who are watching this presentation online in the VR community portal or to YouTube, feel free to post and ask any questions that you might have to our speaker, and at the end of the presentation, we'll address those questions if time will allow us. There is nothing left for me to say more, Kuralay, but just to wish you a great speech, good presentation, and the stage is yours. Take it away.
Okay, thank you for such nice introduction. So, hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. First, let me thank you all for joining this talk today. My name is Zholdybayeva. I'm Senior Business Analyst in EPAM. And today I would like to talk to you about hybrid business analyst Scrum Master role topic and what to expect and how to succeed. So this presentation is structured as follows. First, I would like to introduce myself. Then I would like to explain my motivation, why I decided to combine these two roles in my project. Then I would like to move to the challenges that I faced during that period of time. Also, after that, I would like to discuss the opportunities that was brought by project to me. And finally, I will make a conclusion. So about myself, I've been working as business analyst for 5 years now, 7 years in IT in total. I played various roles in my projects: business analyst, product owner, Scrum Master in waterfall, Scrum projects under SAFe framework, also as part of Agile release train and product line. And also I am certified SAFe Scrum Master. Now let me give you a brief overview of the real-life project that I participated in. So it was oil and gas business domain. It was Scrum project. Also, a team consisted of EPAM and client employees. So my project manager and my developers, they were working for client, while business analysts and QA was from EPAM. So we had all Scrum ceremonies. Exception maybe sprint demo. We had some working solution increment to demonstrate to our client. And I would like to emphasize more the product owner role, because it was not classic product owner role. He approved the requirements, but he didn't participate in ceremonies, he didn't create user stories, he didn't manage backlog. These were all my responsibilities as BA. The reason for that was that product owner, he was far from IT, he was overwhelmed with own responsibilities, so he simply didn't have time to fulfill all product owner responsibilities in a classic way. About working environment, we used Azure DevOps, also known as ADO, for project management. Also, our PM and we BAs, we were working on site, and developers and QA were working fully remotely. So what was my motivation? First, I should admit that it was not entirely my choice to combine such roles in the projects, because our stakeholders, they were far from IT. They didn't have good knowledge of Scrum and Agile, so it was hard to justify to them why we need to hire Scrum Master, especially for such a small team of just 7 people. Also, in terms of budgeting, it was beneficial because, as my project manager said to me, that we prefer to hire another developer instead of Scrum Master. So, but besides that, of course, I had my own motivation. First of all, I wanted to improve my facilitation skills. Of course, as a BA, as we all BAs, we are good facilitators already by our nature, but Scrum Masters are even greater facilitators, and I think that there is always room for improvement. Also, my motivation was to try to coach my team members in Agile. I truly believe in learning through teaching. I believe that we know something well only when we can explain this to other people in simple words. So I wanted to improve my Agile knowledge. And lastly, I wanted to try a new role in Scrum team. As you know, there are only three roles in Scrum team: development team, Scrum Master, and product owner. And before I was a part of development team. So Scrum Master role was new for me at that period. Next, I would like to move to the challenges that I faced, and first and obvious was time and capacity constraints. Of course, when you combine the two roles in the project, you have just too many meetings to attend, you have clash of schedules, etc. And the solution to that would be, of course, time management. So personal recommendation for me, I would start with always focus on important and urgent tasks first. It may sound obvious, but I should note here that, again, that when you're combining the two roles in the project, you just don't have time to fulfill all the tasks. You don't have time to complete them all. So you have to choose, you have to prioritize. And on the right, I placed a prioritization matrix I used myself. So according to this matrix, you can divide your tasks into 4 buckets. For example, if you have important and urgent tasks, you can do it in first order. If you have something important but not urgent, you can schedule it next. If you have tasks that are urgent but not important, you can try to delegate them to other people. And finally, if you have not important and not urgent tasks, you can delete them, you can forget them, because you simply won't have time to do them all. And my next recommendation would be plan 2 sprints ahead. So I think it's quite common recommendation for BAs, quite famous. And for me, I just can add that plan your week ahead, each Friday, plan each evening your tomorrow. And try to book the time in your calendar for these planning sessions, even if you're alone on these sessions, so no one would bother you. Plus, remember that the switching between the tasks requires time. So you cannot just switch to the planning immediately after the, retrospective. So plan some break between the meetings, for example, 30 minutes, so you can have time for switching. And I even suggest that you can plan time for your lunch, because sometimes people forget that you need to eat too. And it's especially important when you have when your team members are located in different time zones, and your stakeholders too can be located in different time zones, as it was in my case. Also, if you will work on your habit to plan everything ahead, it will help you to go through hard times in your project, because at some point you will be overwhelmed with the task, you will be too tired, exhausted. But if you will make this habit of planning things ahead, planning your backlog ahead, 2 weeks ahead, so it will help you a lot. My next recommendation would be do not break time limit of the meeting. So again, you will have a tight schedule if you will be combine roles of business analyst and Scrum Master in your project. So you should not let anyone to break the time limits of the meetings. Otherwise, delaying one meeting can ruin your whole schedule for the day. So manage the conversation, manage the flow of conversation, facilitate the meeting. Do not be afraid to interrupt someone to get back to the point. So keep the time limit of the meetings. And next, my recommendation would be reduce your authority. So here I think I should provide an example. So, for example, in my project, we had a release planning meeting where I was invited, and I had to improve which features of the product should go to the release. And at some point, I realized that I'm actually not needed at this meeting, because we have user stories. They are in sprint backlog. All the team agreed on these features to be in the sprint backlog. Then these user stories are tested, developed, and finally UAT is passed. So why do my team members need my approval to get these features into this release? I suggested that they can do it ourselves, so without me, and eventually they managed to do this release planning without me. And of course, I'm not talking about big releases. Of course, you have to be present there in that meetings. But if it's minor release, why you need to be there? Why you need to approve any decisions? So just try to find. It's of course it's not applicable for all cases, and but you can try to find where you can use where you can reduce your authority in your own project. And my last recommendation would be use Pomodoro technique. I will not spend time on explaining it. It's quite famous, well known. So if you Google it, if you adopt it, it will help you a lot, as it helped me during hard times in my project. The next challenge I would like to discuss is conflict of interest. This one is quite interesting one, and here I made a lot of mistakes, I should admit. The issue is, as BAs, we are focused on business needs, business requirements, on stakeholders, on gathering these requirements. And as Scrum Masters, we are more focused on team's progress, on team's needs, on the people from our team. And sometimes it's easy to forget about it. And I provided the case that happened to me a lot, the situation when important stakeholders asked me to ask my developers to do some out-of-scope tasks. I should note here that my stakeholders, they were far from IT, so the sprint backlog, sprint planning, it didn't mean anything to them. And they asked for some technical expertise from my developers. They asked to do some favor. They asked to correct some mistake, some technical issue. So in that cases, I didn't want to refuse them, to be honest, because they were very, very important stakeholders. I worked with them, and at some point I would require some favor from them too. But at the same time, I had to remember that I am now a Scrum Master too. I have to protect my team. So my recommendation would be shift your focus. Protect your team. Do not give estimates to user stories instead of your team. Do not decide on behalf of your team. Do not commit on behalf of your team. So be protector of your team. And on the right, you can see the picture that illustrates my explanation. So here you can see the Scrum Master tries to help his team to go through obstacle. So be a savior for your team. And finally, my recommendation is to leave a buffer in the sprint. So a buffer is a user story that you can dedicate to some extra tasks that can appear in the sprint. It can be worth 1 story point or 3 story points, but it's quite helpful when you need to do some extra work that is not planned, that comes unexpectedly from one of your important stakeholders. Next, I would like to move to context switching challenge. So again, when you're combining these two roles of business analyst and Scrum Master in your project, you just jump between different duties, and it can be very overwhelming. For example, at one point you have a meeting where you conduct a workshop with your stakeholders to gather requirements, and in 10 minutes you should facilitate the retrospective for your team members, and this can be very exhausting. So here I would like to give a recommendation: facilitate, not manage. And first recommendation is avoid driving the meetings. So I faced a situation when developers were talking to me in daily stand-ups or reporting their progress to me, which is completely wrong. They should be reporting their progress to each other. They should talk to each other. They should exchange their opinions to each other. And I should be a watcher. I should be a facilitator of that meeting as a Scrum Master. So avoid driving the meetings, not only daily stand-ups, but retrospectives too. For example, I've been in retrospectives where Scrum Master was talking 90% of the time, which is also not good, because this retrospective is for the team, not for Scrum Master to talk. You should involve your team members into the discussion. You should make sure that they're involved, that they're listening, that they exchange opinions. So even if it leads to some healthy conflicts, it's fine. But remember, you should not drive the meetings. My next recommendation would be delegate Scrum Master duties for some meetings. This may sound strange because it's Scrum Master duties, right, to facilitate the meetings. But actually, I'm speaking from my experience. At some point in daily stand-ups, I started to choose Scrum Master of the day. So I would come to daily stand-up and say, "Hi, today Dennis is our Scrum Master. So Dennis, please proceed." and Dennis would proceed with the facilitation of the meeting. And it would take some burden off my shoulders first and give me some break, because when you combine these roles and projects, you in some cases you just talk every day, and sometimes you just need a break from that. So it's one point. Second point, when you allow someone else to facilitate the meeting, it ensures their involvement into that meeting and switch their perspective, and it switches your perspective too on your team members, and you can sit and watch and do some notes on how your team members react or how they exchange opinions, etc. And for retros, yes, you can even delegate Scrum Master duties for retros too. So I did it in my practice and it worked pretty well. Next recommendation would be delegate business analyst duties. So this may sound even shocking, because that's our main responsibility as a BA, to write user stories. But actually, you can delegate writing user stories to your testers, for example. Testers are very good in writing user stories because they often write acceptance criteria, they write test cases, so they quite familiar with the structure of user stories. They can do it without you. Of course, I don't mean that you should let them manage the backlog. You can structure the backlog, you can write the name of the user stories, and then you can ask your tester to write some user stories, or just write acceptance criteria for them, or maybe you can just ask them to add some details to the user stories or review them, which is also good as it will be peer reviewing. And finally, also, what I did in my project, for example, I allowed my developers to write user stories, technical user stories, also called enablers. So it was really helpful for them. In that way, they were able to structure this this part of backlog, technical backlog, in their own way, the way that was most convenient for them. And here I can actually smoothly move to the other point. It's involving developers and testers early into the requirements gathering process. So if you do so, you will save some time for yourself, because in that case, you won't need to set up meetings to discuss the requirements for them, because if they're present in the workshops, requirements workshop from the beginning, they will be able to understand requirements at some points even better than you. And during sprint backlog, sometimes you just don't need to explain them the details. They already know everything. Also, during that early meetings, they can ask their questions, and it will help you to, it will save some time for you to go and clarify to stakeholders, to go and clarify this question, these requirements again and again. So, all this will help your team to become more self-organized. And I put an illustration of that on the right. So you can see here, Scrum Master watches from distance how her team members is doing some planning without her. That's a perfect illustration of self-organizing team. And that's the aim of good Scrum Master. So we are done with challenges. And here I want to discuss the opportunities that was brought by this experience. So the result was I improved teamwork in my team. And the good thing is, as BA, you provide the user stories, you provide requirements, but as Scrum Master, you can impact the project progress. You can help your team to deliver user stories better. So as BA, you create user stories. As Scrum Master, you can help your team to deliver these user stories faster. And also, you get some experience of creation of self-organizing team. You can improve project performance, so you can actually do some impact. You can put some effort into it, and you can see result of your efforts. And the next opportunity is building trust. So when you work closely with your team members, as both as Scrum Master and BA, you gain, you build rapport within your team. You gain trust of your team members because you remove impediments for them. You write the stories for them. You do a lot of stuff for them, and they start to trust you more. They start to bring some friendship with you. Build some friendship with you. So it's overall, it's very helpful for the team's atmosphere. And final opportunity is growing. So I grew up as an expert, agile expert. I grew up as BA. I grew up as Scrum Master. I improved my soft skills such as leadership skills, conflict resolution, etc. So it's inevitable actually, because you will have so many responsibilities. You will face so many different situations. You will have so many conflicts to resolve. So it will help you a lot. It will build up your experience. And so here we comes to conclusion. So what was it worth it or not? So in my case, I think it was very hard experience. It was very challenging. It was exhausting. Sometimes it was even frustrating, but in the end, it was rewarding. It was really helpful. It helped me to grow up as an expert, as a BA, as a IT specialist. It helped me to show some of my skills that I didn't use before. So it was worth it, and I recommended everyone to try it in your team. And maybe, who knows, maybe you will come to the conclusion that Scrum Master job is even more suitable for you than business analyst job. So that's the end of my presentation. And here you can see the contact details. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me there or here.
Actually, we did receive a couple of questions throughout the presentation, and I would like to ask them to you now.
Yeah.
Because when you mentioned about the conflict of interest, that you had those two roles to choose from, one of the questions that we have received is, which hat did you put more often in that particular situation, the BA hat or the Scrum Master hat, and why?
Well, in that case, that really depends on the project, of course. At that time, for example, I valued my BA's responsibilities more than Scrum Masters. And you should always think about your project, the values that you bring to your project. So what is more efficient for the project, then you should proceed with that option.
Okay, thank you so much. And you mentioned that your customer was not from the IT industry. It was not necessarily very skilled into the whole agile process, didn't know what the backlog is. So how did you coach? Did you coach the customer, and did you coach the team as well in the agile process? And could you provide some examples on how to do that, if you did?
Yes, of course I tried to coach my in agile, but unfortunately I didn't get interest from him. He was not really interested in learning that, because this product owner role was assigned to him. He didn't choose it, so I failed in that, to be honest. And so I focused on coaching my team members in agile. And what techniques I used? Well, for example, you can help them in estimation of user stories. You can describe them different techniques on how to estimate these user stories. You can provide them different techniques of prioritization. You can explain it to them. So you can give some. You can find some best practices in Scrum Mastering and just provide it to them. For example, just an example. For example, daily stand-ups. There is a gold standard that daily stand-ups should not exceed 15 minutes, because everyone should report their progress, just chat about how their day passed, what they did during the day, because it leads to losing their focus over the work. So what they should report their progress, tell about the impediments, and that should be it. And in that case, our daily stand-up would be efficient for the project.
Did you if that product owner from the customer side was not very helpful and very useful, did you have that opportunity for yourself to make that let's say play a bit of that role, and was it possible to actually deal with I don't know, signing off the requirements if that product owner was not very active?
Yes, he signed off requirements, of course, and actually his not involvement, let's say, it helped me. It brought me another opportunity. Later, I became product owner myself. myself the good business knowledge, yes, of the domain, and also as there was no other project owner and no one wanted to play that role from business, I was able to become project owner myself for my project.
Hmm. And you also mentioned that you were delegating some of those activities of the BA duties to other, or for Scrum Masters to other. Like I very much like this idea of Scrum Master of a day, because it also gives an opportunity for others to grow and to see what it means to be a Scrum Master. But it kind of sounds like it's adding more work on other people, and sometimes adding more work on other people can cause a bit of resistance. So how did your team react to that, and how did they respond to that extra work?
Here you should show your flexibility and your power of persuasion, I think,
Mhm.
and also you have to investigate what are the personal interests of your team members. For example, in my case, my tester she wanted to try a role of business owner, and I
Mhm.
presented her the idea that she can practice her BA skills if she will be writing user stories instead of me. So that's one example. For example.
But doesn't it also add more work to your plate? Because not only do you need to perform the role of the business analyst, but also kind of mentor and monitor the work of a person who will be that business analyst for a day.
Anyways, you will have to review user story after
Mhm.
other person wrote it, and so it's inevitable actually, and so you have to review it.
But and exactly that adds kind of more to your plate in general, right? And you mentioned that you were already sometimes exhausted, and kind of that it was a lot of work was required from your side to combine those two roles. So how would you prevent, or how did you prevent your burnout and the overall exhaustion to still remain excited about both roles?
Well, to be honest, it's too hard to stay excited all the time, and at some point you will lose your motivation. It's just you cannot just avoid that. And what helps you, it's discipline. So there is a saying, discipline beats motivation. So if you work on your habit of planning things ahead, if you will be working on your schedule, I mean, if you will be uh, working on your discipline, it will help you to go through hard times. Because anyways, you will be tired of combining these roles. Anyways, you will lose your motivation at some point. So
Mhm. And you, of course, come from the business analysis background, right? And uh, could you share with our audience how challenging or how easy was the initial switch? Like overall, was it rather a difficult task, or something that came to you naturally
yeah,
because you were already working in agile projects in the past?
yes, I worked in agile projects in the past, but I was just a part of development team, so I was doing just my BA activities, and I was not a Scrum Master before. It was my first experience, so
Mhm.
I had to spend a lot of time on self-education on how to become better Scrum Master. Of course, I already knew this theory, but I didn't put it into practice. So I had to practice. I had to learn a lot during that period
Mhm.
of time.
You also mentioned about your self growth, and that it gave you an opportunity to develop your skills in conflict resolution and negotiation skills. Could you recommend some materials or maybe some training programs that we have at EPAM or outside of EPAM with our audience to
Well,
know
I
where they could learn those skills?
Well, in EPAM, we actually have some courses on conflict resolution, and I think
Mhm.
there is a course on leadership skills. It was just promoted just recently. I forgot the name of it. Sorry. And of course, you can use LinkedIn learning resources. As EPAMer, you have the access to them for free. So in LinkedIn, there are a lot of courses on conflict resolution, on soft skills, leadership skills. So just go and try them. They're very helpful, and they are from leading experts in the area.
Uh, was that switch to join those two roles like a more of a necessity of the project, or was it also something that you wanted to do as your own career growth and development of your skills?
So as I mentioned before, it was kind of both. It was 50-50. So from one point, it was hard to justify to our stakeholders that we need Scrum Master, because we don't understand what that is and why we need them, especially for the team of 7 people. And also, in terms of budgeting, it was like very beneficial for us, because it was better to hire another developer instead of Scrum Master, because in that case we would be able to accomplish more work. And plus, so 50% it was not my decision, but 50% that was my own wish, because I wanted to try myself in that and to see how can I cope with such amount of work.
Mm-hmm. The reason was 50-50, but what about the workload once you were already assigned into both roles? Did you had more activities for a Scrum Master, for a BA, or was it also 50-50 for both?
Well, of course, it was mostly BA work, because still you have to provide the requirements for your team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, most of it was BA work, of course. And Scrum Master work, you can actually minimize it. For example, you can set up the meetings, the recurring meetings in the beginning. You can like build your schedule in advance, and it will take off some burden from your shoulders later. So you can do something with Scrum Master meetings and activities, but not BAs. BA activities require time, so you cannot just spend half an hour on requirements workshop instead of 1 hour. So you still have to be there with the holders and spend 1 hour on working with them.
You also mentioned about the fact that as a Scrum Master, you were defending the team and you were taking care of the team and taking the team side to help them move the obstacles. And can you share some practical tips on what kind of actions can you do as a Scrum Master to actually make sure that the team will have more comfortable working environment?
Well, again, I mentioned before, you should remember that you're a Scrum Master now. You should be protecting your team, and look at your sprint backlog. Look how they are loaded and how to not to distract them. For example, if you're building some important feature, you just don't want your team members to be distracted at that period of time. Yeah, yes, and you will have to become the interference gatekeeper, let's say, for your team. You should protect them by any means from any additional requests from the outside.
Mm-hmm. And the last question that we have received in your presentation is, would you now, knowing what you know, consider switching the career path to become 100% Scrum Master, or do you still prefer the BA part of your work?
Well, to be honest, I love my work. I love to be a business analyst, first a business analyst, not Scrum Master. Scrum Mastering requires a bit more, how to say, interaction with people. So if, for example, you're an introvert, you just try to not to take this role.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very big benefit for the BA community in general that you decide to stay with us, because having a contributor as great as you with your presentation today is a very big benefit for the overall BA community globally. So, Kuralay, it has been a great presentation today for having you here with us today, and thank you so much for that presentation, for the detailed answers that you have provided. I hope I have not exhausted you too much with so many questions, but now I know that instead of answering that question in the mentoring program, I would just refer the people to the recording of this session so that they will be able to learn by themselves what does it mean to work as a BA and as a Scrum Master.
Okay.
And
thank you.
The pleasure is all on our side. And also, I would like to use this opportunity to actually thank all of the speakers who participated in today's conference for their dedication and for dividing the time to prepare the presentations, for delivering the presentations. And a part of the speakers, also a very big thanks to the support team behind the screens who are working with the streams, helping with the moderation, helping with the technical support, technical backlog. And last but not least, very big thanks to the BA community for actually organizing this event. I would very much like to encourage everyone to watch the recording from the overall conference today, to share your appreciation with our speakers by sharing a good word or giving them a badge on the Hero portal. And should you have any questions to any of our speakers, I'm sure they will be very happy to hear from you. All of our speakers shared with you their personal details on how they can be found. So feel free to reach out to them, show them appreciation, show them your love, and show them your support. And for now, there's nothing left for me to say but to wish you all a wonderful rest of the day. Please take good care of yourself, and I hope to speak to you again in the future, or this or any other event organized by the BA community global.
Thank you all. Bye. Have a nice day.